Glad to have on a UFC fighter during UFC week and a special week as well. Mark Hominick joined us. What's up, Mark?
Hey, how you doing there?
I'm good. We got the event coming up, and I know you're going to the event, but it's a really important week for you and the Shawn Tomkins family, and that's the whole extended family. Tell people what's going down on Friday to celebrate the life of Shawn.
We're having an open house at the Tapo Gym, just kind of making a launch, I guess, of the Shawn Tomkins Memorial Fund at the Tapo Training Center on Hacienda between 6 and 8. So there's going to be a lot of MMA personalities there, a lot of fighters, and and the whole Team Tomkins family will be there in support.
Yep, very cool. Sam Stout's going to be there, and obviously Sam has a family relationship with Shawn, and Mike Straka, one of the big MMA journalists, is going to be there. Former UFC champ Bas Rutten will be there as well. It's 6 to 8. It's the Tap Out Training Center. For folks not familiar where it is, it's basically just to the west of Mandalay Bay. You shoot straight back on Hacienda or go towards Mandalay Bay, and you'll see it there on the left or the right. So that's coming up 6 to 8 this Friday. We're talking to Mark Hominick. So, Mark, we know you were very close with Shawn. Shawn passed away a couple of months ago, just 37 years old. And I know you were very affected by his passing, essentially a father figure for you, right?
Yeah, for sure. He was a lot more than just a coach. He's a mentor in my life. One of my best friends. He was the best man at my wedding. So that's the kind of relationship we had. More than just a coach and a student relationship. And he had that relationship with all his fighters. He was a really special person. He always had a special relationship with each person that was involved with him.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it was definitely a devastating loss for us, and right now we're just really trying to carry on his legacy by what we do moving forward.
And I think that's the important thing to look at when someone passes away is kind of what they left behind. And I'm always moved by the fact that there'll be an outpouring when someone passes away, and that's what I found around the MMA community. Which means in the sports world especially, you'll have rivalries and people who don't like each other. And I rarely heard anything negative about Shawn, and that says a lot to me because he worked with a lot of different people. For everyone to pretty much have positive stuff to say about him says a lot about the way he not only as a trainer but just the way he operated in life.
No, exactly, and that's what I was saying there. He just he had that ability to have a certain relationship with everyone he ever met. Whether you knew him for 10 minutes or 10 years, he kept that relationship. And it was definitely a special bond that you guys shared. And the outpouring of support that people have came forward with has been really overwhelming and very nice for the family, and I know for his wife Emily. And I know Shawn looking down, that would be something that he'd be very proud of, to know that he had that kind of impact on people, and everyone's coming out in full support.
That's Mark Hominick in Vegas this Friday. He'll be hanging out with Sam Stout, along with Bas Rutten, a former UFC heavyweight champ, Mike Straka, lots of other luminaries from the MMA world. Shawn Tomkins passed away a couple of months ago, and he was the coach over at Tap Out Training Center, so they're going to have an event there and a silent bidding process at 4040 West Hacienda. Again, it's the Tap Out Training Center. So for you, when you look back at your time with Shawn, was there a moment, because I would assume every fighter has moments in their career where they're like, man, I don't know if I'm going to turn the corner. I'm kind of losing my confidence. He always seemed to be a guy who could pull the positive out of people. And sometimes he could be really rough with them. Sometimes it was more of a nurturing moment. Was there a moment where you kind of lacked some confidence and Shawn got you to turn the corner?
Oh, for sure. Over the years, there was a lot of opportunities lost, with fights and whatnot. And he was always there. He always knew that you're in it together. It was one thing that you didn't. You won together, but you also lost together. So that's the kind of feeling that he was as hurt was as you after a loss, but he always got you back on your feet and got you back right on the right track and had that confidence. That, I think the one thing is if you went into a fight maybe not as confident, he had that confidence. So you'd kind of ride on the wings of what he was carrying forward. So he had that ability to kind of understand his fighters that way.
I thought it was a big moment. As it turns out, it's the final fight that you guys worked together. That I'm sitting there watching your fight against Jose Aldo, and I'm like, they got to stop this thing, man. This thing's exploding on his head. And you guys apparently came to an agreement that it was safe, and I'm going to continue going on.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Shawn's been my coach for 15 years, so he knows me more than any doctor, any referee. He knows the type of fighter I am, and the amount of heart and desire I wanted to win that fight, and I was still there. And you see in that last round, I came back, and that was the best I put forward in the whole fight in that last round, even with the injury. So that's Shawn understood that.
That's Mark Hominick from the UFC. He's got a fight coming up in a couple of months. He's going to be in town for UFC 137. They're having a nice event to celebrate the life of Shawn Tomkins, who passed away a couple of months ago. It's going to be at the Tap Out Training Center on West Hacienda. It's 4040 West Hacienda. So on that fight itself and kind of looking ahead and looking at the division, I'll just tell you from outside the cage, I think we saw some new chinks in Jose Aldo's armor. He's a tremendous fighter, but all this stuff, and I had the same conversation with Tyson Griffin, and I think we also saw it in the Kenny Florian fight that, sometimes people get elevated to unbeatable status before they really have earned it and need to be there. Great fighter, but not unbeatable.
No, for sure, and that's one thing that like Shawn was also pushing forward in that fight, and we were going in with Aldo. He's like he's just a fighter, he's just a man, and you're basically he's unbeatable as you make him. Like I knew going into that fight that I had the right tools to put up problems for him and present problems and push the pace on him, and that's what we I guess kind of exposed. But he's still wearing the belt, so that's the to me that's kind of the start and finish. He's still the champion. But yeah, like I think everyone's he's become human all of a sudden. Because he was coming out, knocking guys out in the first round, and doing all these crazy flying knees and taking guys out in a spectacular fashion. But when it's easy to be the champ when you dominate everybody. When you get your back against the wall, sometimes it's tough to be looking invincible, I guess.
You get to fight next in Toronto. That's pretty cool.
Huge, yeah. That last event was really I felt like I was like a 15-year overnight success. Like all of a sudden everybody in the mixed martial arts world kind of took notice, even though, I've been doing this for a fair amount of years now. But yeah, it was the one fight that really brought me into the limelight, and now I have to kind of carry the momentum that I was gaining in that fight.
Why do I feel like this could be a carbon copy of a past fight? Because style-wise, I think the Korean Zombie sort of resembles Leonard Garcia. Am I wrong? Because I assume he's just going to stand there with wide punches and try to bang away.
No, exactly. I remember watching when I was studying tapes for Leonard Garcia, and I was watching the Korean Zombie fight, and now I'm doing the exact same thing, and it's like the same fighter. In the stand-up aspect, for sure. I think he's a little bit more dangerous on the ground. He's got a pretty strong submission game, and he's been training with Uriah Faber's training camp in Sacramento. So definitely he's adding to his arsenal. But yeah, his stand-up's very wild. He likes to come forward. He likes to push a pace. So it's kind of a tailor-made fight for me on the feet. But yeah, it's still a dangerous fight, that's for sure. Now,
the folks who are the casual MMA fans in our audience probably don't know this, but around the time when you were getting ready for the fight against Jose Aldo at UFC 129, you had a child on the way. Worked out pretty nicely, right? Your daughter held off for a little bit and came along 2 weeks later.
Yeah, exactly. It was pretty amazing time. I give my wife all the credit in the world. I couldn't believe she was there for the fight against Aldo. She was in the front row, 9 months pregnant, and it was definitely a stressful night for anyone watching the fight. So yeah, it was pretty amazing, but it's been definitely a life changer, for the better, and we're just so happy with her family now. That's Mark Hominick from the UFC. All right, Mark, one more time, tell people what's going on this Friday. It's at Tap Out. It's a really cool event, and it's for a great benefit. Yeah, exactly. It was basically the launch of the Shawn Tomkins Memorial Fund. It's an open house from 6 to 8 at the Tap Out Training Center. There'll be lots of MMA personalities, and yeah, it's going to be a great event and a great tribute to Shawn Tomkins. Well, thanks for a couple of minutes, Mark. I obviously only dealt with Shawn from a media standpoint, but the one thing I always noticed, refreshing, polite, always excited to talk to the media. So to me, that says a lot. And it was always like that. He was always consistent. So I know that's the way he carried himself pretty much with everyone. No, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, he was, definitely a special person. And, he's a lot of things to a lot of people. And he's just been greatly missed.